All right, 7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. It's looking like it might be another rainy day, huh, Robin?
Yeah.
Looks like it might be. I've been the amateur philosopher at times in my life. I've often wondered what's this all about. What's the meaning of life and all of that. And I don't think it's learning. I don't think it's knowledge because things change. I remember when I went to school, I learned how to set type. I took a printing class. Well, now what good would that information do me now? So I don't think it's knowledge, right? And I've actually thought it must be faith, because no matter how rich you are, no matter how healthy you are, no matter how well you've got it, you're also going to have problems. It just seems that God has made sure that nobody gets out of here without having their share of crosses to bear, the one thing that gets us through those times, regardless of how wealthy, how healthy, or how unhealthy or unwealthy we are, the one thing is faith that we'll get through it. And usually, for me, the people I've met who have the strongest faith are the ones who've derived that faith from whatever they've learned about God and about his teachings. And Foster Clark has summarized this better than I ever could. He's written a wonderful book. It's called Everyday Faith, Faith for the Daily Walk of Life. We were invited to have him on the show from Tate Publishing, and then found out that he lives here. He lives right amazing? Here in Ocala. He is from the Watula Baptist Church? Right here in Ocala? No? I have that wrong? Okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you tell us where you're from. Why does it say that on my notes? He is here in the studio right now, and again, the book, Everyday Faith. Good morning, Reverend Foster Clark. Nice to meet you.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in.
I'm pleased to be here.
So I got
a little nervous.
So I got. Are you doing a book signing at the church?
I'm doing a book signing at Family Christian bookstores.
Okay,
but we were doing a conference at the church a couple weeks ago.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll get it all right. You're gonna make it right. Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful.
So this is pretty awesome. Is this a first book for you?
It is my very first book, a book that I never saw myself writing, but wow. Now we got it done.
Well, good for you. Congratulations. We will give information at the end of the interview about how to get the book.
Okay.
But so let's talk about you for a second, because then I want to get to how the book came into being.
Okay.
You're a pastor. Is that fair to call you a pastor? Reverend?
I think it's more fair to say I'm an evangelist.
An evangelist?
I travel all over the world.
Oh, you do?
All over the U.S.
But Ocala is your home, right?
Right.
Okay.
We're based here in Ocala.
So how do you, do you have a congregation, or do you show up at other congregations?
I show up at other congregations. Basically, pastors invite us in.
Really?
Or if they're doing a conference, or we set up our own conferences in different cities and other nations.
Really?
That's basically how it got started.
Wow. How long ago? Well, you look like you're 18. How old are you?
You just made my day. I'm 49 years old.
You're 49?
Yes, sir. I'm a 10-year Air Force vet and a Desert Storm veteran.
Wow. I knew that, actually. I'm sorry.
I've been around a little bit.
I didn't do my proper introduction. I do have your information over here. I did know that, and I appreciate, and I apologize.
No, that's quite all right. But I never saw myself going into ministry, but when God just keeps tugging on your heart, eventually you stop running and say okay.
Okay, so you've obviously established that you've been around the block a few times.
Quite a few years. We launched in 2003.
When you say we, how many people?
Four. I have a 4-person team that travels with me pretty much wherever I go, and they're the...
What are you in, a van, a bus? What are you in?
Well, we're cars, we're airplanes.
Okay.
But wherever I go, pretty much they go.
See, because I have this fantasy that one day I'm going to be doing that in an RV. Not evangelizing, just traveling.
I think that would be wonderful, especially with the big coaches that they have now. That would be great to have one of those. But that's
to hire a driver, though. So how did this happen for you? You obviously were living your life, and you kind of hinted that you had the calling. You had something bugging you to do this, to become an evangelist. Take me there. Just take us all there, just for a second.
Long story short, just kept getting a tugging on my heart that God was calling me to more than simply sitting in church. And I didn't want to do it till one day I drove through a Taco Bell drive-through at 2 o'clock in the morning, and a young lady hands me the food, and she says, are you a preacher? And I asked her, why do you ask me that? And she said, I have no idea. And at that point, I pretty much said, okay, evidently God is really trying to get my attention.
Well, that is awesome.
And so I finally just said, okay. And from there, one step just kept leading to another. The thing I found most is that God never really gives you the whole picture. He gives you one step at a time.
That's right.
And I'm really glad about that, because if he would have told me all that was going to be required of me, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Interesting.
But go ahead, sir.
Well, I was just going to say, going back to my thinking that faith is probably what we're here for, and not that I know anything. It just seems like the only thing that makes sense is to learn to have faith, and faith in God. When I hear about suicides of any age group, I've often thought that person gave in to the belief that there is no hope.
The greatest enemy to faith, to me, is the loss of hope. When you've lost hope, you can't have faith for anything. You're simply alive because your body hasn't stopped working, but everything else in you is dead already.
That's right. I love what you just said. And you know what? There's more than one type of suicide. There's the one that leaves you dead in the coffin in the ground. That's what we normally associate with the word. But there's also this other suicide that we commit. It's sitting on the couch. You know, you turn 30, you turn 25, whatever age you decide to stop really living, and you don't live anymore.
And that's not just, it's Christians and non-Christians.
Oh, yeah.
Even Christians have it. I know we like to present the picture that because we're in Christ, everything's just gravy now. We're living on Sunday morning every day. And that's not the case. And that was the purpose for the book.
Ah, okay. Now we're at the book.
That's why I wrote the book. I never saw myself as writing a book. God kept tugging on my heart to write the book. And I think it took me 3 years before I finally sat down and started doing it. But the whole book was written because I had questions. I was frustrated being a Christian. I was frustrated with Christian life. I was frustrated with marriage. In every area, to me, it was in my heart, there's got to be more to this.
Right.
And that's what birthed the book, Everyday Faith. We make the walk of God seem easy, and everybody walks around saying, I'm just blessed every day. But that's not reality. Life isn't like that every day. So until we learn how to walk it in the struggles, until we learn why we pray, why we have to have faith, we're not going to get where we need to go, and we're going to live our life short than what God intended.
What are the criticisms of Christians?
Okay.
Well, criticisms of religious people who believe in God. It's not just Christians. It could be Jewish people.
Right.
I mean, but one of the criticisms of people who go to church and pray and believe in God is that, oh, you're all goody two-shoes when you're in the church, and you get out of there and you start gambling and you're looking at pornography and you're doing all these bad things. And I've often thought that the reason we, the times you're talking about when things aren't so good, that's when I depend on my friend. And she says, come on. And guess what? When times aren't going good for my friend, where I'm pointing to Robin right now, but it could be anybody, then hopefully I'll be there for that person. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that congregation that family outside of our family that we become part of, whether it's a Christian church or a Jewish synagogue, I think that's the reason for that. Nobody's saying that the people in those walls are claiming to be perfect.
No.
Yeah.
But I think we have presented that image, though. We as Christians have presented that image so well that we just walk so straight all the time that we've almost made the life unreal now. And more people struggle because there's not that realness about the walk. My purpose in the book was to make the walk real. You're going to have troubles. You're going to fall sometime. You're going to have your valley days.
You're going to be busier now that you have the book. How long has the book been out?
It released yesterday. Officially, it released yesterday. I'm so hyped right now because officially it released yesterday, and it was pre-released about a year ago, maybe. We did a pre-release in conferences that we were in, and every conference that we went to, basically, it practically sold out. And we've gotten so much feedback from pastors that are using it in their Bible studies, and people walking up crying because it answered so many basic questions that they've always had. So we're really excited right now.
I love that. Evangelist Foster Clark is in the studio. Let me do what I did not do at the beginning. I'm going to give you a proper introduction. Mr. Clark, Pastor Clark, Reverend Clark is an Air Force and Desert Storm veteran. Wow. And he's also the pastor of Expectant Faith World Ministries.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's something we should say, too. And I want to ask about the name. Everyday Faith is the title of a brand new book he just put out. He is one of these guys that travels all over the world and evangelizes at churches, and he's here. He lives in Ocala, but this is home base for him. It's not where I'm guessing you're out of town 300 something days out of the year or something.
Not quite that much.
Not quite that much.
But we're out. Yeah.
You have a book signing event in Ocala though this coming Saturday. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And that's in the Villages.
Yes, sir.
That's the Family Christian Church bookstore. I'll read my notes here. At 562 North U.S. Highway 441. What does Expectant Faith Ministries mean? Little pregnant women?
I hope not. All my kids are grown and out the house, so no.
Even though you look 18.
And I'm glad for that. Expectant faith is the term because you have to have an expectation in God. You can't just pray without having expectation. A lot of people pray because they've been taught to pray. They've been told to pray. But until you put an expectation on your faith, that's where hope comes from. It's the expectancy that this isn't as good as it gets. It's the expectancy that things will change.
Right.
That I can grow above this, that I can learn differently. But until you put an expectation on your faith, basically you're just turning your wheels.
Do you know what's interesting when you read about Jesus? It was almost like when a person speaks and makes sense, and a person says things that are obviously words of wisdom. You're doing that right now. Jesus did the same thing, but still nobody would listen to him. They wouldn't listen to him until he did like these miracles. That's true. It was almost like, prove to me that what you're saying is worth me listening to. I've never understood that. I mean, if somebody's saying the truth, then they're saying the truth.
But I can understand their heart and their mindset, because if you look at even in Jesus' time, people had been lied to by so many false prophets. So by the time Jesus comes on the scene, why should that person believe him? That's why he said in his word, even if you don't believe me, believe the works that your eyes are seeing. It's by my life that God's word is real in me, and that's what will turn people's hearts toward God. If I can live my life openly, and that doesn't mean perfect, it means openly. If I can live openly with my ups, my downs, my faults, and still show the love of God and the growth of God in my life, that's what gives other people hope. That's what gives them expectation in God. It's the realness of it.
And that's where trust comes in within that faith. And you did such a wonderful job illustrating that on the cover of the book, because that's really a great visual piece to describe what your written word is about. I
have to thank Tate Publications. They called about the cover and asked me how I saw it. And how I saw it is, faith is like stepping off a cliff. Every day, you don't know what's going to come at you every day.
That's right.
You can wake up and have your own plans, but you don't know what's going to happen as the day goes. So with every step, you're stepping on that cliff, but you're trusting that God's there to guide you. And if you fall, that he's going to catch you. That's why we have the hands on the cover. And it was very important that we make the hands as neutral colored as we could, because God represents all people.
There you go.
And it's
we make that stupid mistake, don't we, a lot?
Exactly.
I have a question for you personally.
Please,
I mean, have you stepped off a cliff?
My God.
tell me about your own cliff.
There are too many. I would say I've had most of my troubles after I became a Christian than before, because I was fighting the battle of what I had been taught and trying to live perfectly, and you can't. In trying that, I made more mistakes.
Did you walk off a cliff that that literally would be quitting a job to enter the ministry?
I walked off my job. Now, please, everybody out there, don't leave your job, okay? let me clear that up first. But what I've learned is that when you truly start praying, Lord, lead me, I want you to lead and guide my life. He will if you will allow him. And I was working on a company, my wife, and we were making good money. And I started praying. Now I was in the ministry, and I had literally started praying, Lord, I don't care what it takes. I want to go wherever you want me to go. And lo and behold, one day it just dropped into my heart. I want you to leave everything. I left my job. We gave away a house, gave away our house, gave away 2 cars, and just walked away from everything.
Where'd you live?
We went, well, it's so funny. The very day it dropped into my heart, I want you to walk away from everything. I said, Lord, where are we going to live? And the phone rang. First I thought, hey, maybe it's God calling.
Yeah, right.
I answered the phone.
You have caller ID?
You know, I'm like, wow, this would be cool. You know? But it was a lady that we knew. And she called. She said, you just hit my heart. And I said, I called her mama. She wasn't my birth mother, but I called her mom.
Okay.
And I said, well, Mom, we need to give away our house. And so her and her husband said, well, move in here. So me and my wife and my son and a white German Shepherd moved into 1 bedroom.
Right.
So we went from having our own house to living in 1 bedroom. And literally for the next 2.5 years, God was teaching me how to walk by faith, how to trust him. You can't have a ministry called Expectant Faith, and you can't teach faith if you've never had to really exhibit and use faith or that trust as you're talking about.
You know what surprises me? That you were nervous before we went on the air. You know exactly what to say.
Well, I thank God for it, because I'm still nervous. My heart is still racing.
Reverend Foster Clark is our guest. He likes to be called, evangelist.
I just like to be called Foster.
Foster. Okay, yes. Foster. But you were an evangelist. I want the listeners to know who they're listening to. The book is called Everyday Faith, and yesterday was the release date. He will be at a book signing event on this Saturday at the Family Christian Bookstore in the Villages, which is on North U.S. Highway 41. We'll give you better directions in just a little bit. From 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. if you want to go meet him. Till 3. Everything is wrong on my notes. 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. And he'll be signing books. The question I have for you, I guess maybe is the nuts and bolts kind of a question.
Yes, sir.
When you are going to the different churches that you visit to evangelize, how do they find out about you? Is there a website they go to? Or
Well, we do have a website.
What is that?
www.expectantfaith.org. expectant is our website, and you can always find out where we are there. A lot of people some people have looked on the website and contacted us, but a lot of it is word of mouth. God has blessed us. He really has. He has given us a message and a word that seems to resonate in churches, and that people understand it's not, we're just who we are. We're just real. And people, a lot of it is word of mouth. Pastors call other pastors, or their congregations will come and see us somewhere else and then call to come where they are.
Right.
Overseas, we're in Africa, we're in Bangladesh, we're in Haiti. We've adopted schools. We believe the only way to kill poverty is through God and education. And so we started an educational ministry for third world nations. And so that's what we're doing.
When you were in the service and you had your buddies and you talked to people, did you feel like you were ministering then, even though that wasn't part of your makeup?
Well, early on, no. Early on, I was pretty much doing everything I could, But I will say this. I will never forget this man. His name was Dwayne. I was 20, maybe 21. I was a non-Christian, and Dwayne was a Christian. And I couldn't stand this guy. I just couldn't stand him, And one day I got arrested for doing something really, really stupid. And long story short, I ended up getting out, and Dwayne walked up to me and he said, man, I've been praying for you all day. Now here's a guy that I didn't even like.
Oh, wow.
And yet he told me that he'd been praying for me all day after I got arrested. And I don't think he ever knows how deeply that sat in my heart. And I think everything kind of started changing a little bit after that. So in the beginning, no. In the end, I found a lot of people were coming to me and just talking about different things. So I think it started there. I just didn't realize it.
Well, that's a very profound story and a profound experience for you. Have you had any other experiences that might I don't know, maybe consider supernatural? Did you have maybe some dreams or anything like that really catapulted you from what you were to what you are now?
Absolutely. My first trip to Africa. Had no intention of going to Africa. Didn't want to go. And got into my heart one day go. But I remember being in this church service, and a man walked up to me. And he said, "You have no idea what God has for you and what you're about to do."
Oh, wow.
You're about to launch a world ministry.
Yeah.
And you will write books. And from that, it's like everything kind of took off. But I can still see this man's face to this day, and that's got to be at least 9 or 10 years ago.
Wow, he's
I can
right.
still see his voice, and I can or see his face, and I still hear his voice. And everything he said is really happened, and it's still happening. So,
So when did you move to Ocala? It says
in 2007.
Okay.
We were living. My wife and I were living down in Cocoa Beach area or Melbourne. After I got out of the service, my last base was at Patrick Air Force Base. And in 2007, we had friends up here, and I had been to Ocala, but I didn't want to move up here. I was like, I don't want to live up there in the country. And, I used to talk so bad about Ocala with my friends, and and lo and behold, one day the Lord dropped in our hearts that I want you to move to Ocala. Here we are, and now it's where we are, and God has really blessed us here.
And we're blessed to have you here. I mean, just listening to what you're saying, obviously you are a wise man.
Learning to be one.
Learning to be one. Well, that's wise. Even that reply is a wise reply. I have a copy of the book. Can I give it away?
Absolutely.
I will give it away right now. It's called Everyday Faith. If you would like it, call me right now at the WOCA.
Here, I've got two.
Got two of them. The WOCA Climate Control Source Hotline is 622-WOCA. 2 callers will get a book apiece. The rest of us don't have to go buy it. I'm guessing that this helps fund the ministry.
It does entirely.
So we're going to give out information so they know how to go buy this. Let me go answer a couple of these calls. You will only be able to hear them if you put your headset on, if you want to say hi. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You've got one of the books. Who's this?
This is Lois.
Okay, Lois. Do you know we're at the Paddock Mall?
Oh, of course I do, and I'll be there shortly because I have to do some shopping.
Okay, Lois. It'll be waiting for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me give the other one away. Good morning. You've got the other book. Who's this?
Janet.
Janet, you've got the book. It'll be. We're here, right? At the mall?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Thank you.
You got it, Janet. It'll be waiting for you. Wow, if they sell that quick, you're gonna get that RV.
I was kind of shocked by that that it happened so fast.
Oh, well, you couldn't see the screen, but it was all lit up. It was every line we have was on there.
Okay.
Well, thank you for coming on today, and good luck with everything. For the listeners, Reverend Foster Clark will be at the Family Christian Bookstore in the Villages this Saturday from 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. signing books, and the book again is called Everyday Faith, Faith for the Daily Walk of Life. And the website, let me make sure I got this right, Foster. expectantfaithministries.org. No, you don't use the word
Expectant
ministries.
Faith.
Just expectantfaith.org. Okay.
Yes.
And Robin will put that on the guest list so that people will be able to click on it real easy. Just go to WOCA.com and you'll see Reverend Clark's name at the 905 slot on today's listing. Thank you for coming in. And, ma'am, what was your name again? Terry, thank you for coming. Terry was silent today. There was a video made of this. You are in the video, actually. So.
I do want to say this, though, because she's here. Terry is part of the ministry team. She travels with me. She is our intercessor. And I didn't know that she was coming. And she just blessed my heart tremendously today.
No, that's great.
So
that's
it's
great.
a blessing. And if I don't say hi to my wife, I'm going to be in trouble.
Oh, man, you know it.
Thank you. I just want to say hi to Rochelle Clark, who works at the Community Bank and Trust of Florida. Hi, honey. Okay.
And Mrs. Clark, you got an 18-year-old looking 49-year-old husband.
She's gorgeous,
I hope
too.
you took that as a compliment.
You know?
I really didn't mean anything bad.
No, I take it as a compliment.
I was impressed, actually. Well, I've been impressed no matter what age you are. Thank you for coming in.
No, it's been an honor. I thank you for having me.
And you know what? Even better, the bigger thank you is not for coming in. The bigger thank you is for doing what you're doing. You're actually making the world a better place. I mean, you hear these horrible stories out there. I mean, the one thing that I really hope you and everybody else doing what you're doing is giving people the faith. so that they don't, so that we don't read these stories about suicides. It just breaks my heart when I hear these stories.
Well, I thank God for that, but also thinking that I'm just a part of the family and the picture. There's so many people out here doing great work. There's so many people out here that care, and just to be a part of everybody else's. I truly believe that what the word says, that we're all members of the body working together as one, and if we can keep that,
I hope that
awesome.
message gets out there too. When you hear stories like the Nairobi story of in the mall, why? I mean, why would you say somebody doesn't deserve to live? Well, whose right is it to do that? Thank you for coming in here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
I
what you're
appreciate
doing.
everything.
We'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller